Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation, right here on Verde Valley TV and KVNA 104.7 FM. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Prescott baseball coach Barry Tolli. He'll talk about how the game of baseball drives his career path. We'll then be joined by Mingus Union volleyball coach Daryn Beck, who will break down her early coaching experience and her plans to grow the sport in the Verde Valley. But on the other side of this break, we'll be joined by Ascent Volleyball Club Director Serena Wallace. She'll discuss how coaching club prepares her for the upcoming high school season. All of that and a whole lot more right here on Off the Bench. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Ascent Volleyball Club Director and Director of Instruction, Coach Serena Wallace. Coach Wallace, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
We have given her a different title this time, but it is still Coconino High School girls volleyball coach Serena Wallace. But of course, Coach Wallace is also, like I mentioned, the club director and director of instruction at Ascent Volleyball. Coach, just kind of let's start out from the beginning. What is Ascent Volleyball, and how did you get involved?
So a few years ago, I was asked to coach club volleyball, and I thought, yeah, that sounds like fun. At that point, I hadn't been coaching. I was actually going to school and got a degree in interior design and had just started that. And so I had a friend that asked me, and I started to get involved with the club. And a few years later, now I'm the owner and director of the club. So kind of just one of those things that God says, good job getting a degree, but we're going to go this way instead. And honestly, it's been the best thing to happen, and I really enjoy it, and I'm just blessed to be a part of the club. So we are a girls volleyball club, and we have girls anywhere from 9 years old to 17, 18. And each year we play from December through May, 6 months, and have 6 months of training and anywhere from 10 to 15 tournaments in that time.
Now, Coach, you mentioned some of the, obviously there's different age groups involved with the club team. I mean, what are some of the differences in terms of the coaching style for each of the age groups?
So we've kind of started to develop a culture where we want to be able to give the younger girls the same look as an older girl. So we don't want to limit them to their age, but kind of give them all the tools that are necessary. And the girls that want to jump on and take those on can, and those that maybe are a little bit slower will start to kind of fall behind a little bit. But honestly, we're not really running them over necessarily, but we kind of want to just give them as much as possible. And some of them develop it really quickly. Some of them take a little bit of time, but honestly, we have kind of a huge spectrum as far as beginner to more advanced. But that's kind of what club's about. So.
Have you found a little bit more success handling the club that way in terms of, like you mentioned, just sort of doing everything for every group, every age level? Have you found more success and better players developing them that way?
Yes, definitely. This year, especially, we had a 12s team, and I kind of had one of those light bulb moments with another athlete, just showing her something that I usually only talk to, a varsity level kid about, and it just clicked for her. And then I had that moment of, man, I really should be doing this with my 12-year-olds. And then we just started kind of talking about it at the 12s level. And by the end of the season, we were running plays that I would never have thought a 12s team could do. And it's scaled back, and there's certain level that you're not going to get to because they're 12 and they can't get over the net and stuff like that. But honestly, it's been really nice to see them, because there's a few girls that just take it and run with it. And it's really fun and exciting to see them kind of developing that, reading the game so much earlier than kind of having that struggle, because there are a few girls, they're coming in later, or maybe they weren't taught the game earlier on as far as reading, offense and strategy. And then, you're having to remind them at 16 how to do that, how to read the offense coming at you, how to defend it, versus starting at 12. And then by the time they're 16, 17, 18, they're just competing at a higher strategy level, not necessarily skill wise. That is what it is, depending on how tall and, God-given talents. But as far as that goes, just being able to give them everything and then see how it develops. So I'm really excited for a few of our 12-year-olds that we have. We saw so much progress this year, and like I said, they're 12 still, but it's super exciting. And I'm sure the parents think we're crazy jumping up and down on the sideline. They're like, what's going on? But it's also kind of teaching the parents too about the game. So.
Yeah, and how interesting. I've talked to a bunch of coaches throughout the summer regarding, their summer workouts and their summer plans. And for the most part, when they've dealt with the younger age groups, it's been kind of it's been a more step back approach. It's been, let's focus on the fundamentals at the younger age. Let's focus on just learning, if it's particularly volleyball, let's learn how to hit the ball over the net correctly. Let's learn how to block correctly. Obviously, a little different with a club team where you're not dealing with so many youth kids now. However, Ascent is running summer camps, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But how interesting, Coach, do you guys kind of flip that almost? And you're sort of, in a lot of ways, Coach, kind of pushing them into the deep end and going, here is the speed of the game, and this is how it is.
Yes, definitely. I don't know if you've heard of Art of Coaching Volleyball.
I have not.
It's an instruction. There's just a bunch of videos online. It's kind of like a subscription that you pay for. They run camps and clinics and all kinds of stuff. But so I've gone through their courses, and that's really a big thing that they say is, it's a certain kind of coaching style. Like, you either break it way down and slow it way down, or you say, hey, here's what you need to do. This is what it looks like, and then go. And it's ugly at first. Like, it's definitely really ugly. And you're going, okay, hold on, coaches. I know it's really ugly right now. But then in an hour, now they're doing things that you're like, wow, I didn't think, I would have stopped. If you would have stopped it 2 minutes in, you never would know in that 30 minutes what it could look like. So just trying to encourage that with the coaches. And this year is actually the first year that I was an assistant coach on a 12s team. And then I just directed, which was amazing and wonderful, because I was able to actually go and be a part of every team. And go to more practices. So I was at a lot of practices. I was able to see coaches coach and kind of try to help them think outside of the box, not necessarily tell them they're wrong, but maybe say, hey, what about this? Or you could add this to this drill, or, and even steal some of the drills that they were doing that I really liked. So that was nice.
So, of course, like you said, it gives you an opportunity to sort of see what other coaches are doing. And like you said, maybe even take a couple pointers from some of your fellow coaches. As I mentioned, Ascent Volleyball, again, we were speaking with club director and director of instruction, Coach Serena Wallace. Coach, summer camps are going on right now. They're kind of coming to the tail end-ish. They're going to be done by the end of July. But can we talk a little bit about how the reception has been for the camps, what they kind of consist of, and I don't know if signups are still a thing right now, but you can obviously clarify that. So Coach, like I mentioned, summer camps, what's going on with them?
Yeah, so this is technically it's our second year running summer camp, but last year we got shut down. So We ran for a couple weeks and then we're shut down. So we really didn't get to see what summer camp would unfold. So this year, I would say, it's our second year, but really it's our first year being able to complete the full 7 weeks. I think 7 weeks is a long time, but it definitely allows parents and athletes to go on vacation and only miss, 1 week or 2 weeks. And when you're talking a 7-week program, it's definitely nice because they're still getting a lot out of it. So we have a couple things going on, and it's been it's been a whirlwind. I think it's how it is for everybody right now. Just business is crazy and booming, which is awesome and wonderful. But it's also kind of like, oh gosh, we're not ready yet. So it's been eye-opening in that regards. There's been so many people I've had to shut registration down because we only have 2 courts and there's only so much we can do. So that's been really encouraging to see how many people are interested in volleyball and interested in the program. So as far as outline goes, we meet on Mondays with the older group. So the original was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we had to add a Tuesday, Thursday for the younger girls because there was so many, like I said, that were trying to sign up. So Mondays, we really break out skill and just individual. So it's a lot of like, here's a ball and a wall, or here's a ball in the net, and you individually kind of work on your specific skill of the day. And then we have just been breaking into stations. So we'll have like an older group stay together and go to the different stations together, and then a younger group stay together. So Mondays is really about just developing you specifically as an individual athlete, not necessarily as a team.
Okay.
And then on Tuesdays, we have been doing a 4s tournament. So basically 4 people on the court. Usually there's 6. So it's a little bit more of a get every ball up, go for everything. And that's been really fun to watch them just compete. So it's, learn the skill on Monday and then apply it on Tuesday in competition. And then on Wednesdays, we've been out in the sun, beach volleyball. And that's a little bit less. I love it. It's super fun, but I don't know all the intricate details of it. But thankfully we have Coach Scott Dendy, who's the head coach at Coco for beach. And he's been kind of leading that and helping us learn more about outdoor volleyball versus indoor. So it's a pretty good mix of everything, like breaking it down Monday, play on Tuesday, and then something just totally different on Wednesday.
And how good for these kids, to learn this skill and then immediately apply it to a real world example. Like you said, they learn the skill on Monday. On Tuesday, they're using it in a game. This isn't just you going, okay, show me how you hit the ball. What you learned yesterday, it was, hey, we're going to use this in a game, and you need to hopefully perfect it or figure it out before then, because in a game, obviously, if you mess up, you mess up. How interesting. And I'm learning. I did a little research, obviously, about the camp and about the club in general, but how interesting that your strategy to sort of, like I said, implement more real world examples, and to sort of just, like I said, in a lot of good ways, when I say this, is to take these kids and push them into the deep end in a lot of ways, because you learn that survival skill, that sort of, that sink or swim when it comes to, the particular sport that you're learning. And the way that you guys handle it, I think is a very interesting approach. And I'm not surprised that you've seen some great success. We've talked about, I talked about in the beginning, obviously, Coach Wallace, along with being the club director and director of instruction for Ascent Volleyball, she is also the head girls varsity coach at Coconino High School. And I'm curious, Coach, do you see a lot of your regular players show up and participate in the camps? I know a lot of your girls do play, not a lot of them, but a good chunk of them do play multiple sports. For the most part, you guys are pretty much a year-round team. Are you seeing a lot of your players come out to Ascent? And in all honesty, any of your crosstown rivals, any of those players making their way to your club team?
Yeah, so we it's definitely been interesting. I would say 90% of our club, 85 to 90% go to Flag High.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. So I know all the Flag High girls and have good relationships with them. And it is kind of a little bit of a hurt when you've taught this girl since she's 12 and now she's crushing you on the other side, So I think it's fun and healthy for the town to kind of come together for club. We've always kind of had three or four separate clubs in Flagstaff. And this is the first year that Ascent was the only club. And so that it has been kind of encouraging just because, I really try to keep them separate. The biggest thing is I never want a Coconino girl to feel like she can't make a team because she doesn't play club, right? Like we don't all have the same opportunities or money or, so that should never be something that somebody steps onto the Coconino court and says, oh, well, everybody else plays club. I'm not going to be able to make high school. So I really try to there's no club t-shirts allowed in the gym at Coco. Okay. I just want to completely separate those two. But then, and I was kind of that way at first with club too. Hey, no high school t-shirts, we're club. But then, as that has kind of progressed, it's been actually kind of nice to see red and green together at club. So I didn't have that rule this last year, and, they wore their Coco shirts, they wore their flag shirts, and it is nice because we are all a big family up here. And so it is in the rival, as much as I love the rival game, it's stressful, and it's always stressful for the girls. And you're kind of saying, hey, it's just flag high. Like right. We know all the girls and we know what to expect, but they still freak out. And, so I think that it's healthy for them to play on a team together and then also kind of separate and go compete against each other too. So I really enjoy it. And I think Beth Hagelin enjoys it too. She's starting to step back a little bit from club, but I think for the most part, it's been really healthy to see those girls and be able to encourage them during club and then also say, hey, great game at the end of the game, the rival game. So
yeah, you kind of look at those two big rivalries within the 4A Grand Canyon region, one of which obviously being the Coconino and Flagstaff rivalry. And then you go a little bit down the ways, an hour or so away, and you look into Prescott and Bradshaw Mountain. A lot of respect between those two programs. A lot of Prescott coaches that I've spoken to were former Bradshaw Bears. You yourself are a former Bradshaw Bear. And there's just a lot of respect between the Prescott and Bradshaw rivalry, very much like now what you're experiencing being a part of Coconino volleyball along with Flagstaff. And how interesting that you mainly club coach a lot of Coach Hagelin's players for the opposite team. And like you said, while that rivalry game is great to play against, and it's always fun to watch the two towns come together in whatever sport it is, it's always very, very fun. There's a lot of respect between the two schools. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of crossover between Coconino and Flagstaff that a lot of people don't know. And one of which you just told me. I had no idea that you were coaching, like you said, not necessarily all of, but a good chunk of Coach Hagelin's Flagstaff Eagles for your volleyball club team. And now I'm going to have to transition this question a little bit differently, because initially I was going to ask, how this has prepared your team for the upcoming season. But now I'm just going to ask you directly, since you're seeing more of the opposing team's players. I mean, how does this help you prepare for your team when you coach the club team?
Right. So I would say, it really has been leaning towards flag. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the first year that we have an incoming freshman class at Coco that I know a lot of them from club. Mm-hmm. And so I would say it is shifting a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't shift. I really don't want it to become all Coconino goes this and flag doesn't. That's not the point of this at all. And so that's kind of where it's a tricky line. I really don't want any of the flag high girls to come out to club and say, oh, she's not going to pick me because she's the Coco head coach, which, rumors happen. And it's kind of one of those things that it's going to happen no matter how much you try to not let it happen. But it's been really nice. It's always like, hey, what school are you going to? And they go flag high and I go, oh man. But there's some really, really good athletes going to flag high that I'm really excited to see how they do. And then there's some really good athletes coming to Coconino. So, we lost 8 seniors last year. So it's a building year for us at Coco. I don't think flag lost as many, and they always seem to have a bigger roster than us anyway. So, but yeah, it is, I'd say it's just really exciting to see, like I said, that just cross town come together, Rivalry, yes. But then after high school is done, we kind of come together in the club season and play together there. So it's just been really encouraging to see that. And it's been, I've always kind of, if I'm going to be honest, be kind of frustrated, like, gosh, everyone goes to Flag High. Why do they go to Flag High and not Cocoa? Why am I always competing against girls that I coach, But we'll see. It just is what it is. And it's kind of exciting. Like I said, I always really enjoy playing them because I get to see all of the girls that I coached year round playing each other. And that's exciting to me. And I think it's exciting for them too. It's a little bit of like ruffled feathers at the end of the night, but I think it's ultimately good for everybody in the town. So
a lot of respect between Coconino High School and Flagstaff High School, both volleyball programs. A lot of respect between those two. And, of course, Ascent Volleyball, a club team up there in northern Arizona ran by Serena Wallace. She's the club director and director of instruction. Again, if you're going to Flagstaff High School, check out Ascent. Coach Wallace isn't just looking for Coconino players, just to make that very, very clear. Everybody is welcome at Ascent Volleyball. And, Coach Wallace, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show to talk about your club team. I do want to pass off a quick congratulations. We'll talk about it when we reconvene for the season. But Rakenna Curtis and Brooke Parker both going to Yavapai College this year, 2 players from your team. I just wanted to pass off a congratulations to you for getting 2 players at the next level. It's a very, very tough thing when kids compete at the college level, and it's great to see more local kids continuing their education and their athletics. So congratulations, Coach, on another set of players. Coming out of the Coconino program, they played under you this past year, and you took over in 2019. But Coach Wallace, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yes, no problem. I do want to add really quick, Megan Hicks is also going to be playing at Park University.
Okay. Congratulations to Megan Hicks as well.
So the 3 of them, I just didn't want to leave her out. She'll be playing there too. So it'll be Megan, Brooke, and Rick all moving on to the next level. So.
Well, congratulations to them. And Coach Wallace, I look forward to speaking with you again during the actual volleyball season when your Panthers hit the hardwood.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by new Prescott High School baseball coach Barry Tolli. Stay with us here on Off the Bench. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I am joined now by new Prescott High School baseball coach Barry Tolli. Coach Tolli, welcome onto the show.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. I'm fired up to be here. Appreciate you, brother.
Well, we're very happy to have you here, Coach. You played high school baseball like a lot of us did, probably played youth baseball as well. You had the honor in 1998 to get drafted in the 8th round by the Detroit Tigers out of Newberry Park High School. You played 3 seasons in their farm system. You played 1 with the Anaheim Angels, who are now, I think, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And they got like 20 different names. I'm a Dodger fan, so I don't care. Coach, I'm just curious, just in general, just kind of briefly, how did it feel to get drafted? What was that feeling? Do you remember where you were?
Sure. Yeah, I was at home. I was with my family. It was a big day. It was an honor to start with that. It was just a blessing. It was something that, I had prepared for, we had worked for, but when it finally comes to fruition, you actually get that opportunity. That phone call is, it's like nothing else. It's a real blessing. And the experience that I was able to get from professional baseball and the minor leagues, it was just invaluable. I just got to learn so much, not only through the game, but through life. And that's something that we talk about as I'm a coach with the high school kids. I constantly talk about those life lessons that we learn through baseball and through professional baseball. When you're playing for 7 months every single day, boy, you start to learn a lot about the game and yourself and your reaction to failure, because the game is a game of failure and adjustments. And so I learned a lot about myself that way. Not always easy. I had some really, really rough times. I didn't get to achieve what I felt like I could have, but it was only on me. It was all my own doing. And through those failures, I've learned. And those are the type of things that I try to implement with my kids, that I've learned from those mistakes and the lessons that baseball teaches us.
Interesting enough, Coach, during that time serving as a minor league baseball coach, or excuse me, a minor league baseball player, you were giving lessons, you were teaching kids
Sure.
to speak the game during that time. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that was the off season. So you play for 7 months, but then you're home for a few months. And it's something that a lot of people, you want to either keep busy or you're trying to make money, to pass the time. But for me, it was about the connection that I got to have. That actually came about a little bit by accident. Family friend was like, hey, I've got this nephew, his dad's not around, whatever the circumstance was. And then I got to go and I worked with that kid. And then I saw the interaction and the communication that I was able to get through that. And it was 2 ways. I feel like I'm learning from them as well with human behavior and just the interaction. And, they're learning from the instructor at that time, but also a human being in front of them. And that communication is something that I just really attached myself. I'm really into human behavior. You talked about, I've got some acting experience as well. And that's something that I study. So yeah. As a young man teaching young kids the art of baseball and hitting, it taught me more also about human beings and communication and life.
Well, you mentioned, you alluded to it, Coach. After your baseball career, Coach Tolli attended Moore Park College and Utah State University. And like you said, Coach, you have experience in the film industry as an actor, I believe as a director and a writer as well. You some of your minor roles that you have some of the movies and TV shows that some people may be familiar with that you've been a part of. Minor roles in Gridiron Gang, a football movie with The Rock, Friday Night Lights, another football movie, musical TV show Glee, and of course multiple commercials, one of which being with Nike, which is very, very interesting. So I'm just curious, just kind of briefly, Coach, what sparked that interest in acting?
Well, that's always been something. Actually, you say that. That's funny. When I was 8 years old, my mom still tells the story. I told her I was going to be a Dodger. Like you're a Dodger fan. I'm a diehard Dodger fan from LA. But I told her I was going to be a baseball player, a Dodger specifically, until I was 42. And I haven't even turned 42 yet. But so I was a little off of my years. But then I told her I'm going to go to acting. As a little kid, I'll never forget the movie Top Gun made a huge impact on my life. I watched that thing every single day. That Rocky, Rambo. I was a big product of the 80s as a kid, and just that cinematic style and storytelling. So it's something that I believe has always been in me. When I did leave professional baseball, I went back to school. Like you said, I attended Moore Park College. First day of acting class, I met my beautiful wife, who we've been married 17 years now. And I believe God put me in that position specifically. And we had to share a passion of acting. And she's actually a better actress than I am an actor. But we share that passion. And it's always kind of been there, especially, cinematically. I've just, like I said, from the time I was 7 years old, I saw Top Gun. I said, man, I want to be on screen like that. That was pretty cool.
Thing you mentioned Top Gun, because at the spoiler, I guess, for I'm thinking of the Naked Gun. Never mind. Yeah, Top Gun. Yeah, Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. I'm thinking of the Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen, because at the end of that movie, they go to Dodger Stadium and Ray Jackson is playing for the California Angels. Exactly. So, I completely blanked there. But yes, Top Gun is a great movie. So is Rambo. My dad's a big Dirty Harry fan, so that kind of got me into movies as well. But what's interesting, Coach, is even during your acting career, you were still involved with baseball. And it seems like every avenue you have tried to go into, you've always just been called back to the game. And we'll talk a little bit about your post-acting career. I know you're still somewhat involved, and you can talk about your involvement a little bit later. But I know that, it seems like baseball has always just called you back. Why is that?
That's a great observation. And I don't really have an answer for that. I just say God, the way this Prescott thing came about, I just believe is divine. I'm here and I'm so thrilled to be, because I really believe I was called. So throughout my experiences, even though I was able to dabble and do all these different kind of really cool, fun things, but I was, like you said, I was always drawn back to the game. And that I would say that relationship that happens with player coach, that happens with player player. And when it's really good with parent and player, parent and coach, community, those things, they can't be bought or they can't be, substituted. Those are bonds that once you have those, you're always looking for them, and I think that's something. So no matter what, baseball was always going to be a part of my life, no matter what happened industry wise, with film and TV, no matter what, I was always going to be a part of baseball. And after the last 4 years, where it was actually the only real 4 years that I was away from the game, where there was no doubt I had to be here, and I'm fired up to be.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that sort of break you took during your baseball coaching career, or even your playing career as well. 2011, Coach Tolli took the head coaching job at Grace Brethren High School in California. 7 years with that program, including a couple playoff appearances. But after that, you took some time away. I believe you stopped coaching in 2018 and took some time away. So I'm just curious, Coach, why step away from the game? And my follow-up question is pretty obvious. Why'd you come back?
Okay, great question. So I was really, really overwhelmed financially, I would say, in Southern California. So there was a process there where work had dried up a little bit, industry-wise, and I was strictly coaching and teaching, which was amazing. I loved it. But where we lived in Westlake Village is extremely expensive, and it's not always easy to keep your head above water. So my wife was working too much. It was really a family decision. It wasn't something I was like, hey, I'm going to take a break from the game. But it was a decision that I needed to make sure that, my family was taken care of. I've always loved Arizona. We came out for spring training many, many times. I was here with the Angels. So I've always loved Arizona. That was an easy fit there. And then I got an opportunity to work with some great people. I ended up working with a great friend, Herman Cain. I think that's one of the guys you're referencing when I directed a documentary about a very, very special man. He was my best friend. And unfortunately, we lost him last year. And that was part of the calling, I would say, the start of the calling, where I said, I think I need to go back. And Herman, if he was here, even though we had such a great time, he'd be like, you're doing the right thing there, in my Herman voice. And he's just such a special guy. So those experiences were awesome, but it was a calling to come back. And when I did come back, there was no doubt. I actually was at a game at GCU where my former starting pitcher and my catcher were both on the field. And then I had one in the dugout. And I was watching. He ended up being the player of the year, or the pitcher of the year in the WAC. And then he just got drafted yesterday by the Twins. And watching my kids, and I'm just like praying. I just felt like really called, man. To me, it was obvious. You need to get back to the game. And like you said, I've always felt like I needed to be in the game. I've always needed that as part of my life. I feel a little. There's a big part missing in my life if I don't have that. And the kids really provide a ton of that. I love working with the young kids. I love developing. I love implementing culture. I love implementing a work ethic and a desire to succeed. And the kids we have at Prescott are jumping in, and I think we're going to do great things.
It's interesting. You mentioned Grand Canyon University. I've mentioned it a million times on the show. That is my alma mater.
Oh, cool.
Really good chance that I believe you may have to help me out with just sort of the time frame of who you're referring to, but if you're talking catcher and pitcher who just got recently drafted, David Avidia, is he one? And Pearson Ole, is he the other?
Pearson Ole's the pitcher. Josh Buckley, who the first guy you mentioned, beat out at the end of the year, but Josh had started early in the season, and they have a great program. I'm glad you went there, man. They're doing some amazing things, and hopefully we're going to have some kids in the Prescott program that we can send there as well, because I love Stankiewicz. I love what he's doing with the program. It's an absolutely beautiful place to see a game. It's elite collegiate level. And again, I think they're doing great things with the program, and they got a foundation that I obviously really respect and like. So.
Of course, Andy Stankiewicz, the head coach for Grand Canyon University, another former minor leaguer, major leaguer, much like the gentleman who I'm speaking with, Prescott High School baseball coach Barry Tolli. Coach Tolli taking over for Coach Winslow at the end of this year. We know Coach Winslow been around the program for a very, very long time, took some time away, but came back, but has basically been the face of Prescott baseball for a very, very long time now. Coach, you're coming into a community that is very steeped in its roots. Prescott, kids who go to Prescott, more than likely they're parents went to Prescott. More than likely, they have brothers and sisters who went to Prescott. So I'm curious, you stepping into a new environment, how do you make that program your own, while obviously still keeping the traditions and keeping the program going into the success rate that it is, because Prescott baseball is a very solid program. But I'm just curious, you coming in, brand new coach to the area, no real ties to the area. How do you keep that success going? And, how do you make the program your own?
Sure. Well, to start, obviously, Kent he had done an amazing job for years. Everybody that I talked to just raves about him. All my interaction with him has been amazing. A special, special guy. When I talked to the other coaches that came up from Memorial Day tournament, they're like, "How does it feel to replace a legend?" I'm like, "Well, the guy's awesome. I love him, but he's so humble, and he's such a great. He's helped guide me along in the process here, taking over the tournaments So that part of it it's humbling, because again, I know how much respect he has. He's done a great job. He's an incredible person. You can tell that just by being around him. You can see why everybody loves him. And so with that, I respect everything that went on before. And then like you said, I've got to bring in our program, and we're the Hustlin' Badger baseball program. That's something that we embrace. We take certain things to a little bit of an extreme as far as our work ethic and how we approach the game. So that kind of thing that becomes a little bit organic as we're implementing those things. They're going to feel, the way in which we are approach the game and the way that we play. And that's all with respect to what's gone on before, but this is how we do things now. And and locally with the Prescott community, there's a great community. I mean, I love Prescott. It's such a special place. And with that, I'm going to stand out like a sore thumb. No question about it, with my energy and being from Southern California and all that. But I think that can be a positive. I'm not the only one moving into town. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of people coming in. And as long as we keep those roots and that foundation of what Prescott is, what makes Prescott and great, then there should be no problems there. When they see our kids and the way our work ethic is, and it's an extremely blue collar, I'd say, approach to the game, trying to always overcome. It's not always going to be about talent. It's going to be about who works the hardest, who wants it the most, who's the most fundamentally sound. So those are things that everybody can relate to. So whether you're, the high energy guy from Southern California who's loud, or, you're the more laid back person that's lived in Prescott their whole life, you can respect those values. And that's something that I just asking them to give me a shot. Don't hold my Southern California Dodger energy against me, and just embrace the program. And I think they're going to be really happy, because they'll see as time goes on that I love their kids, that I'm here for their kids. I'm here to teach them the game and teach them life and make better men out of them. And with that, then the fact that we have these differences, like you root for the 49ers, I'm a Rams fan, we can live with that, but if there's a foundation and there's, values that we agree upon, man, the sky's the limit.
Well, Coach, you don't have to hold my 49er fandom against me, but I'm 400% holding your Rams fandom against
but I like you even more because of that.
No, but of course, again, we're speaking with a new baseball coach for Prescott High School, Barry Tolli. Coach Tolli, just in general, before we let you go, how's the offseason been? Have you gotten a chance to see your team yet? Have you guys held any practices yet? What's coming up for the Prescott baseball team?
Great. We had a Memorial Day tournament right away, so that was kind of trial by fire. I got to have like 2 practices with my guys beforehand, but they've done an amazing job getting on board with the way in which that we're going to approach the game and Hustlin' Badger way. And we had practices throughout the month of June. We had a Memorial Day tournament. We had 4th of July tournament. We played doubleheaders. So we've gotten a lot of action. They've gotten to see me. I've gotten to know them, which is everything that you could ask for in a first summer. And they competed. They're good ball players. They're hardworking kids. I think we're going to do great. And then last week we ended up starting with our incoming freshmen, which is a great class of a lot of good young ball players that want to come in and be a part of it. And something about our program is that we don't play people because of their year or their age or what they did last year. We're strictly going to go on, the people in front of us. And I think that's an exciting opportunity for young kids, especially. And it'll create a great competition and a great program. So I'm thrilled. Like I said, and the summer went really well. So.
Well, Coach, we're really excited to see you get started, and we can't wait to see the Badgers back out on the baseball field when we get closer to the spring season. But thank you very much for coming on here in the middle of the summer to give us an update on the Prescott Badgers. Welcome to the Prescott area. We're happy to have you in the 4A Grand Canyon region, and I look forward to speaking with you again sometime down the line.
Thanks a lot, brother. I really appreciate it. It's nice talking with you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by another new head coach. This time it is Mingus Union girls volleyball coach Daryn Beck. Stay with us here on Off the Bench. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I am joined by new Mingus Union High School girls volleyball coach Daryn Beck. Coach Beck, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Hi.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations. Welcome to the Verde Valley. Welcome to the 4A Grand Canyon region. You graduated from Barry Goldwater High School. You played volleyball there. You also played volleyball at Chandler Gilbert Community College. You now take your talents, your coaching talents, to Mingus Union High School to take over the program left by Hunter Tibbs. Coach Tibbs stepped down from the varsity program this year, and in steps Coach Daryn Beck, who we're speaking with right now. Coach, your coaching career while you were playing was going on. Like I said, while you were playing, you started coaching at 16, obviously coaching club ball, following in your mom's footsteps. Your mom coached you in club. I just want to ask, kind of taking over and introducing yourself to the club scene, to the coaching scene, how were those first couple years kind of stepping into that spotlight of being not only just a player, but a coach? What did that sort of teach you about kind of what you were getting into in terms of coaching?
I actually enjoyed it, especially being at a young age, because especially when you're playing and coaching, because you get to understand both sides of the spectrum. So you get to understand as a player, and you can understand your players, and then you can understand as a coach what you expect as the entire time playing. So I think to finish my seasons from 17 end of high school to college, it changed my mentality a lot, because I understood what the coach expected, and I understood what I expected as a player and what was expected from me as a player.
Starting out with coaching at such a young age, like you said, just sort of, in coaching, it like you just said, it sort of changed your mentality as a player as well. When coaching club, obviously, I would assume there have been scenarios where you've had to coach, kids who are older than you, obviously kids who are younger than you. How did you connect with the players, not only on the floor with them, but also as somebody that they were supposed to see somewhat as a superior, considering how young you are?
I coached younger. I never really coached the same age or older. So them being younger, I was more of a role model than a coach, because they got to see me play while I was also their coach. So I got to be something that they looked up to, and that made a relationship where I knew that I had responsibilities to guide young girls to setting goals, achieving them, working hard. And I knew that I had a lot of eyes on me as a player, but also as a coach. And that I think it helped because they soaked in everything that I told them. When they watched me, they would tell me that they're in awe with how I played and they wanted to be like me. So whenever I would coach them or hype them up, it gave them a sort of excitement because they had a goal that they wanted to achieve.
Yeah, and how cool for you to sort of be like a role model, like you just said, to just sort of be like the standard. A lot of players look up to you. Like you mentioned, you coached a lot of younger kids. So, they're kind of seeing you do it out on the floor at the high school level, then transitioning into college. And they're kind of like, yeah, I want to be like Coach Beck. Totally makes sense. A different Coach Beck, which is your mom, she was, she has been instrumental in helping you kind of transition as a coach. Also, she coached you when you were playing club volleyball. What sort of words of advice has she passed off to you throughout that time when you've coached either along with her or she's coached you? And how has she passed off anything as you take on your first official varsity head coaching job?
Yeah. My three things in my philosophy were definitely taken from watching her run the program in high school, because without those three things, which I'm sure we'll get into when we talk about philosophy, you really can't have or run a program, especially because they're young girls. And in high school, you're figuring out who you want to be, where you want to go. So if you don't have those, you don't have a standard for yourself or for the program. So I took those for sure, because I took them with me when I left Goldwater to college. And when I was a captain on my team, I kept those philosophies. Like those were the same things that I wanted to follow. And I think that it helps a lot.
Let's jump into those philosophies, Coach. What are those rules for you as a coach?
So my rules and philosophy would be, you have to be respectful, responsible, and accountable. So you have to respect your elders, your peers, and yourself. And then you have to be responsible. You have to, being a student athlete, you need to do your homework, be on to class on time, you need to be on practice on time, everything. You need to hold yourself responsible. Accountable, you have to hold yourself accountable, which is if you're doing something, you need to just admit it, and then change it and focus on what the issue is and what you're going to do to change it. And I just think holding yourself accountable is a big thing, especially in this day of age, because it's lost sometimes. So it's very important.
Yeah, obviously, like you mentioned, respect, accountability, huge. It's something you definitely want with your players. You kind of step in being a more younger player, or I should say a younger coach. You step in and take over this program that has struggled a little bit. I mean, how do you kind of, from day one, how do you sort of establish, that sort of respect and that sort of, command as a coach when you're taking on a new program and you're taking on a new group of girls? I mean, what do you have to do to sort of establish that relationship early on?
I think honestly, I was kind of nervous, but the second that I met the girls, it was just instant. They're a great group of girls. And the thing that I didn't really have to try that hard is because of how bad they want it. Okay. They want a good season. They want to learn. They want to get better. And they trusted me off the bat, obviously knowing my experience with coaching and playing. So I think it was just an off the bat respect. And that was nice because the girls obviously already had that taught to them. They're amazing young girls. Right. So I think it was just, I let them know, if you respect me, I respect you. So if you respect my philosophy and my rules, I will make you a better volleyball player and a person all around.
Okay. Again, we were speaking with new Mingus Union High School varsity girls volleyball coach Daryn Beck. Coach Beck, a lot of your experience kind of lies at the club level. You coached a lot of club ball, as we mentioned. Why did you feel that this position at Mingus Union High School was the one for you?
So it's actually a weird short story, but I was talking to my boyfriend. I was like, I would love to coach high school. And I had just had a really, really good winning season for club with 13-year-olds. So I was like, I think I want to go higher to high school and see how that level is. And literally the next day, Doug, Coach Provenzano, called me. So it was totally like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it was just like a calling for me. So that's why I think that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar, of course, Mingus Union High School's football coach, Doug Provenzano, former head football coach over at Barry Goldwater High School, where Daryn graduated as a student. She was attending. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to fill in that story, Coach Beck. I'm going to let you tell the story of you and Coach Provenzano, what your guys' relationship and how it's built just at the respect level and in terms of work. Because like you just said, he was the one who told you about the position at Mingus Union High School. So let's talk a little bit about your connection with Coach Provenzano.
So I met him obviously at Barry Goldwater. He was my brother's football coach. So I was an athlete for 1 year while he was there. It was my senior year, and me and him just like clicked. He would have the guys come to the team. Obviously I knew him through my brother. And he would just always mentor me sort of when I would be upset or I was struggling as an athlete. He was just instantly somebody that I could go to, and he would just give me the best advice as a player. And then after that, I became a coach, and he was somebody that I looked up to because my senior year, we had like the best winning season that Goldwater had in a very long time. And he did that in a year. So I looked up to him as he changed that program so quick and so fast. And all those guys I was very close with, to watch them turn into different people because of him and how he changed their mindsets and the look on football. It definitely was an eye opener, and I definitely looked up to him for that.
Yeah, how cool that Coach Provenzano clearly saw a lot of talent in you to obviously not offer you the job. He's not the athletic director, but to tell you about the position and to go, hey, you need to come over here to Mingus and take over this program and try to turn it around, because, the Mingus volleyball program has seen, I don't want to say a revolving door of coaches, but, in the past, this is going to be the third coach taking over this program in the past 3 or 4 years. Obviously, Coach Tibbs was the former JV coach, so the transition was a little bit easier last season for Coach Tibbs to take over the varsity program. I mean, unfortunately, he also had to deal with COVID, something hopefully you won't have to deal with, and a lot of coaches won't have to deal with this season. Yeah, I know. But you step into a program that's really trying hard to make that turn into competitive. I think only one season in the past couple of years this team has finished above 500. And like I said, there's a lot of issues that happened last year that are outside of everybody's control. Now we come into this year, you stepping into a new program, what do you have to do to help that team make that jump from sort of bottom of the barrel team to somebody who could be competing for the region every year?
So I think now that I've seen them play, I've had some summer workouts and open gyms and stuff. I definitely already know everything that needs to go on in season, that I think we could definitely hit a 500 or over. I explained to them, I'm going to put in the work, but they're going to have to put in a lot of work. Their competitive side is definitely have to come out, but that's my job to bring that out in practice, which a lot of the practices will be very, very intense and hard, probably what they're not used to, because they're going to be learning a lot of different volleyball skills, places to put the ball that they're probably not taught before, to score that winning point or that last point. And I want to improve their IQ by a lot in volleyball. So to win a game or anything, your IQ in volleyball has to be on point, because if it's that winning point, you have to look at the court and see what's open. Okay. And you have to be smart in general with volleyball. But it also comes with them being a team. So if we are not a team and we're not in it together 100% or 110% all the way, then that's not going to happen. So there'll be a lot of team builders during practices where they have things where it's crunch time and you got to get that last point, but you have to do it as a team. You got to figure it out as a team, because that's very, very important in volleyball.
Okay. Coach, again, we're speaking with new Mingus Union High School varsity girls volleyball coach Daryn Beck. Coach Beck will take over the Mingus Union Marauder program this year. Excited to get started this fall with the volleyball team. You talked about the teams already participated in some open gyms. You've seen these girls compete. What has been the reception so far? Are you seeing a lot of newer players come out? Is it a lot of returners? What sort of has been to put it kind of bluntly, I guess, what's been the vibe at practice recently?
So I am actually very, very happy with the turnout. I have 40 girls show up to workouts, and workouts are at 6:30 in the morning. So for that many girls, it's a really good turnout. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of returners, seniors and juniors, but we have more freshmen and sophomores. So that makes me very happy, because I can teach those young girls everything to make, when they're seniors, that varsity team strong and exactly what I want to be, so that hopefully they can have a really good season. But they work hard. Like it's 6:30 in the morning and they're there, they're ready to go and they're working out. So I know and I see it that they want it. So I have a very good feeling about this season.
Yeah. And well, I mean, what a great sign for you stepping into a brand new program. You're trying to establish yourself. You're trying to build that program up. And, you know, like you just said, you're seeing a whole bunch of freshmen and sophomore coming in, a lot of returners coming back to see what maybe you have to offer them in their junior and senior years, or freshman, or I should say sophomore year as well. So very, very interesting, Coach. I know you're excited to get the season officially started, but I'm curious, you know, you have roots in club volleyball. Any plans to start a club volleyball team here in the Verde Valley, or a program or any kind of club? We spoke with Serena Wallace, who is the Coconino High School girls volleyball coach, who you'll be coaching across the gym, or I should say next to, very soon this season. She runs Ascent Volleyball up in the Flagstaff area. Any plans to sort of grow club volleyball here in the Verde Valley now that you're the head coach at Mingus?
So I have been talking about it and I have been trying to figure out. I would love to do that for sure. I just have to it's a lot. I work a full-time job. I'm a bar manager, and then I'm doing this for volleyball. So once I have the time and I can figure out how to do it, the whole process pretty much, that is something that I want to do in the near future for these girls.
All right, Coach. Well, I got one last question for you before we send it off for the rest of the show, or I should say before I sign off. I mean, what can players expect? We kind of talked a little bit about it, but I mean, when a player goes through your program, you know, where do you want them to finish, and where do you want them to improve? I mean, what can they expect going through your program when they come in to when they finish?
A lot of improvement. I think self-improvement, volleyball skill improvement, and just a different mindset as an athlete, very competitive. I want them to look at me and realize I might be hard on you. I will push you. I will not let you give up. But at the end of the day, when you're done with that season and you did a great job and your stats are high and you feel like you did something, you'll thank me and you'll understand that it's for you, and it's because I want these girls to go to college. I want them to exceed in volleyball because it's their passion. It's my passion. And I want them to, I want it to be competitive, and I want them to know that Mingus is not playing around. So okay. I want Mingus to start being the school that they have to watch out for. Okay.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank all my guests for coming on the show this week. Ascent Volleyball Club Director and Director of Instruction, Serena Wallace. Of course, Prescott High School Baseball Coach Barry Tolli, and new Mingus Union High School Girls Volleyball Varsity Coach Daryn Beck. Coach Beck, we're excited to see you get started with this program. We're excited to see where this program will go, and can't wait to see you out in the hardwood when the fall sports season kicks off. Best of luck, and thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for this episode of Off the Bench. Excuse me, I'm Philip Katafamo. We'll see you next week.